this to me is the essence of where we're at right now. Like this is the primary question. I see this a lot. If Dave Dombrowski does not make the swings that are needed to be made to right the ship at the deadline, if I am John Middleton, I'm handing Dave his bus ticket home for the day or home the day after. Okay. Here's what I don't really get about Phillies fans, and this isn't about like Jerry specifically, who made the comment there. You just see the fan base in general say, this bullpen sucks. They have like 1.5 guys that I feel okay about in this moment. The lineup sucks. Like the catcher stinks. He's on the decline. The first baseman is hurt. Bryson Stott, who I want to have another conversation about in a moment, has been dreadful this year. The third baseman doesn't hit for enough power. Center field's a mess. Left field might be worse. It's a lot of problems. But then everybody wants them to go in at the deadline and fix this. So 2 different conversations that I think you can have. Like, one, should they even bother trying to fix this? What do people want? Because if you're wanting and you're saying that the team sucks, then what do you think they're going to do at the deadline to fix all of this and make themselves a World Series contender? If you're really under the belief that this team stinks, which I read up and down everywhere online, all the radio callers, the whole deal, they're like, what are we talking about? Like, what are you going to do? Make 5 moves of impact at the deadline and turn this into a championship team? And I guess the other question becomes like, where do they need to be in order to say like, yeah, let's go for it? Like if the trade deadline were today, Bob Nightingale's stories about how the Phillies are going to be aggressive at the deadline or not, like, would you make a deal of consequence and do something that might really hurt you long-term in order to invest in this team? Like that's to me, like the question that needs to be answered over the next 7 weeks is you get to the deadline. Is it going to be worth it to do something like that? And right now in this moment, they have some questions to answer and none bigger than how hurt is Bryce Harper? Like, because if Bryce Harper is hurt or he's going to come back and be like a grinded out guy, pretty much the guy that he's been all season to this point, like, I don't know if this works. A lot of my projection about the Phillies and this potentially working in October is like Bryce Harper gets going, that he finds another gear. And if he can't find that other gear, I don't know that any of this matters. What do you think about where they're at versus how they play the deadline and where they go?
Yeah, you're not going to get 5 players at the deadline. Like you're just not. I mean, that's asking a lot. That you would have to basically burn down your farm system to do that. And I don't think that they look at this.
It would make no sense to do that now after not doing it in 22 or 23 or 24 when you seemingly had a better, at least in 24. It seemed like last year they had a much better chance to win a championship than they do as we talk right now. So if you didn't do it a year ago, why do it now? That would be my question.
Yeah, no, but do I think that they're still going to be aggressive at the deadline and try and get pieces? I do think so. I do think that they're going to look for a bat. I do think that they're going to look for 2 bullpen pieces, or at least 1, depending on what your starting rotation kind of looks like. I don't know. I think that I don't think it's abandoned ship with this team. Although I do have I did think of, there was a curious comment. I forget who it was that said it. It might have even just been a fan that brought it up online. Is it possible that they didn't tell us this, but the Phillies kind of looked at this as almost like a gap year, in the sense that we're not going to make big changes this year. We're going to let what we have just go. It's a good team. If they do it, great. If they don't do it, we're in a much better position a year from now when we have a little bit more cap flexibility, a little bit more financial flexibility with the salary for these players. We get some young players developed and kind of further along where they need to be, and then really kind of make the big push again in 26. Maybe they didn't say it out loud, and you start to wonder a little bit if in fact that was the approach that they went into the offseason without saying.
Well, when you look at the net result of the offseason, it certainly feels like that. I think that a lot of people assume that, they must have kicked the tires on different outcomes and things didn't materialize and they're holding their powder for July, and I think that was sort of the hope. But I think so much of this for me is about where you're at in the standings and where you're at relative to the rest of the contenders in the National League and what a difference 7 days makes. I mean, part of the reason why I kind of was banging the drum for, look, I know this team is going to struggle at times. They certainly have some shortcomings, but so long as they're 10, 15 games over 500 and, 2 or 3 games within the division, I'm in. Like, let's make a run. Let's try to make 1 or 2 moves of big time consequence and see if you can push this thing over the top and really reshape what the team looks like and feels like, maybe more than anything, going into October. But if you're going to fall off a cliff, and we're talking about a team that come the end of July can't really recover from this, and they're 2 games over 500, and they're 3 games out of a wild card spot, and they're 9 behind the Mets in the division, then my mentality about how you play the deadline is much different than it was even a week ago.
Well, sure. I mean, obviously, where you're at in the standings at that point certainly dictates what you do.
Here's the question, right? Like, you and I both believe, despite what some others think, that this team doesn't suck. That this isn't a loser team, right? Like, maybe we're just too optimistic. I don't know. I don't think this team sucks. In the last week, 3 of the games which they lost, I watched a Mick Abel deal. I watched Ranger Suarez deal. I watched Christopher Sanchez deal. Like, yes, I know that they lost these games over the last week. It's incredibly annoying and frustrating and makes you want to rip your hair out and throw shit at the wall. I get it. But, like, you're getting those pitching performances. And in time, like, you're going to win baseball games when your pitching is that good. And, oh, by the way, you get Zach Wheeler back, who we haven't seen in like 11 days. So, like, it's still there. Like, that part of it is the most important part of it. And it's still there. And I'm not telling you that they're going to win 105 games, but I just refuse. I can be a complete dumbass, and I don't see this coming. I just don't think a team with that starting rotation continues to fall off the cliff and loses 21 out of 24. I just don't believe it. I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe I'm wrong. But at the same time, where does this team get better offensively without tweaking the roster? Like, that's what I want to ask you right now. You've watched enough of this. It's June 9th. You've seen each of these guys have pretty underwhelming seasons, save for Turner and Schwarber. Castellanos has been batting average is fine. OPS is fine, but he's not a difference maker offensively.
No, he's been what he's been.
He's just whatever. So that being said, like, where's the improvement internally? Like, without an outbound move, like, who gets better? Who has more in the tank than they've given so far?
Well, who should have more in the tank than they've given so far? Or
who do you believe might actually? I mean, the answer to should is pretty much everyone.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you say who should, I look at every other guy on this roster and say they have all underperformed and underwhelmed.
But, like, that's the thing. Like, they have, but does Nick Castellanos have more to give this team?
A little bit power wise, I think he does.
Is Kyle Schwarber?
I think Schwarber's giving you what he's giving you, right?
Obviously, do you believe that either of those center fielders have any more to give you?
I don't, and I'm starting to believe that neither of the left fielders have anything more to give.
The Kepler's killer. I mean, it was a weird fit. It didn't make a lot of sense at the time. Sometimes you almost like want to defer to people and go, like, they must know something we don't.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the last 2 years, their left field solution in the offseason, they didn't know more than we did, with Merrifield, although at the time, Merrifield I actually thought made some sense.
I thought Merrifield was a great sign.
You and I texted each other right away. And we're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And he's been worse than I thought he'd be.
Yeah. It's just not a good fit. Stott is the guy that I find the most disappointment in, because I think there is more there. And it's just not happening right now. He did say yesterday, and to his credit, I kind of went back and looked at it, and I believe what he said yesterday. He said that he's felt that he's getting a little bit more right field side pop in his swing back. He's less late on his swings in the last couple of games. He has hit some balls hard to the first base, second base, right field. He just hit a few right at guys. So I'm willing to kind of give it a little bit of run for him to say, okay, if you figured something out, maybe, if you didn't get the results in 2-3 games, you will start to get them. Sometimes that happens. but it's a very short leash on that one. Other than that, I don't know if anybody else is going to give you more than what they've given you so far.